Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dave on Air. It's a Dave AI powered podcast. We discuss brand building, we discuss the age of digital transformation, we discuss user experience, all the new advancements in technology, and all of that. And today we are very, very thrilled to have Mr. Noritaka Wakuda with us. He's a seasoned strategist, marketer, and for those of you who don't know, he's the force, the mind behind Nexa, and also uh, he's the one who conceptualized a lot of mobility and automation innovation lab at Maruti Suzuki. And your career has traveled across continents and different places, people, I'm sure. And we are really, really thrilled and to have you, of course. And now you are heading Suzuki Global, Suzuki Digital Global from Delhi. And we can't wait to hear from you. We can't wait to chat about how you're building it and your journey all throughout. So thank you. And I'm excited to talk to you.
Yes, yes. So thank you for having me. It's quite nice because I've been working with Dave for last 2, 3 years. So it's very nice to be here.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's we're looking forward to it.
Yep.
So to start with, maybe we can talk about your current role at Suzuki Digital. I'm sure it's different in its way. It's unique and comes with a set of challenges. So if you can just tell how it is like for you.
So in one word, actually, Suzuki Digital is a software company which Suzuki is building, and we decided to build in India because, as you know, there's a lot of talent here, and it's English speaking, which makes it very easy for us to go global also. Yeah, so this is a software company. Why we're building is because digital has become so important for our global operation that we need to build digital platforms to run our business. So what we are doing is building this platform. So we are calling it Automotive Cloud
Okay.
because we're in the automotive. We need to do automotive business. So we are creating a cloud and we're going to launch across the world. So already it is live in one country and we're going to scale to multiple countries. So that is what we are doing. So being a software company, we need to actually design, starting with designing experience because it's for the customer and customer. Then you need to build the processes. Then you need to develop it into an application. Let's see. And the operations keep on going. So this is what we're doing.
Okay, so there are various stages, and tech is almost involved in everything
Yes, yes.
that is there.
So the tech is there, but for the customer, the experience matters. So they will not know what the backend tech is.
Right.
Most important, this tech should be giving good experience for our customers all over the world, whether they are in Japan, Germany, Philippines, Mexico.
Absolutely.
Those customers should get the best experience.
Right.
Yeah.
And so while the end goal is not like it's different for the customer and what we are trying to do on the back end, like you said, it's different. But like, how can people leverage the opportunities and the like the possibilities that tech provides, and overcome those challenges while it's all there, right? But building a brand, like you said, requires processes, and there's like a format to what you're doing, and there is so much. So how can you leverage tech, and how do you identify what's the right thing to do, or a lot of collaboration, or uh, those decisions that you make to kind of build a brand, especially in this sector where everything is changing. Like, how do you do that?
Okay, so first, I think technology can be used in multiple ways, right? So brand building is not about technology. It's first about that customer, our customer,
Okay.
because the brand is in the customer's mind, right? So this is about branding. Brand is not out there somewhere. The product or service might be out there, but brand is how it's perception. It's how the people or the customer thinks about our brand, like Suzuki or Maruti Suzuki, right? So it's in the people's customers' head how they see, right? So how do you build that brand which is in the customer's mind, right? You need to build it through good experience through the product and service, right? So which means we need to design products that suit the customer's lifestyle, the needs, and give superior experience through the product. Service, like if you own a car, you'll come to service. We have service also. There might be other service that we have to provide customers. Right? That should be a superior experience also. So first, we need to design the experience through our products, services, right? And this is not one time. Throughout the customer journey in the lifetime, this product service should be very relevant in providing value.
Right.
After we design this, then how do you provide it in a very consistent way?
Right.
Every day, every month, every year, right?
Okay.
Then if you're not running this on a platform like a base tech, it's very difficult to keep consistent.
Okay.
If it's people dependent, like if you just allow some people to do, service, one day they might just get bored
Right.
or tired, right? Then the quality goes down. So how do you make it that every day, and every day a customer comes, which is a different customer, we need to provide the best experience every day.
Right.
How do you make it consistent? You need to have a platform, right, that supports that operation of a product or service.
Right.
So first, I think you need to start from the customer side and work your way backward rather than starting from the technology and try to push out. Because if you push out, might not meet the need of the customer also, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there'll be some misalignment, or it won't be right for the people altogether.
And that is a big problem because if there's a misalignment, say the customer says that I didn't want this, then what happens to all the time and the investment that went into this? Totally useless.
I agree.
Right.
Yeah. So the success of Nexa, I'm sure, is built on this, I would say, theory or this practice of this connection that you're trying to make. So when you were building Nexa, like, can you share what were your insights and how did you go about building it, and definitely some challenges that you had, personal or with the team, or however you want to take it. But it will be very interesting to know that Nexa, how did Nexa come into being?
So the one big learning from Nexa, and that was my first project in India, right, is that you need to have the spirit. Before branding, you need to have the spirit, and the spirit is called never give up.
Right.
Never give up.
Right.
So I just explained how this started, so you know what I mean. So when I landed in India, 2014, sorry,
14.
2014, yes.
Yeah, 14.
Yeah, about 10 years ago. So next day you go to office, right? I went to office. So my boss back then, which was the director, said, we need to grow 50% market share. Back then we were 40% market share.
Okay.
10% in India is a lot of market share because we were already the 5th largest market in the world, India.
Right.
So it's like China, US, Japan, Germany, India, right? Already quite big, and you want to grow 10%. Okay. Then we had a homework like that. So he said, I think we need to build a channel.
Okay.
You build a channel. You build the channel. So I said, I don't know how to build a
It
channel.
was assigned to you.
Yeah, it was assigned to me first day. I don't know how to build a channel, obviously, because I was not into this, right?
Right.
Like business development. I was only planning products in Japan.
Got it.
Right? So I said, I can't do it. I don't know. And he's like, no, there's no choice. You need to do it. You need to do it. But I don't know how. So he's like, okay, you might not know how, so you should learn. Read some books. Read some books. Right? So I'm like, okay, I understand. Let me start to read books. So first few days, I'm starting to read books like branding and this.
Right.
Realize that this is not going to help because reading books didn't give me the idea how to build a channel or a brand.
Right.
So then you get stuck. And he also told me that in 1 month, we need to present to all the senior management, like 70 people. And you create a presentation like on strategy and you present.
Right.
So I've already wasted about 1 week reading a book, right? I have 3 weeks. Okay, what am I going to do? Then because you're stuck, then one thing I still understood is customers are very important, our customers. So then you need to go and listen to customers.
Right.
All right, so what I did is, because reading books didn't help, went to the showroom and just observed sitting there. Right? This was on a weekend back then, 10 years ago, in Maruti Suzuki showroom.
Is it because most of that purchase is made, I mean, people go and explore the showrooms on weekend.
Yeah, because they'll come. We need to understand the customer. So I thought it's good to be in the showroom, just observing. Then you start to see a lot of bad experiences back then.
Right.
So it was like this. This was on a weekend. So there's a lot of people coming, like 30, 50 people to the showroom.
Yeah.
Right? On a afternoon where it's busy, they would have to line up
To see.
to enter because there was a reception. There was a manual register, paper
Okay.
register. And the process was you need to take the name, phone number, address, like this. So there is a queue because there's only one receptionist, and we're taking the name and phone number like this.
Right.
Afterwards, very crowded. The customer get guided to a desk, right? Then the salesperson will come, have a discussion.
Right.
But after a while, you start to see the customer walk around.
Right.
Because our process was that you want to discuss accessory, you have to go to accessory section. Then after that, you want to discuss insurance, go to insurance person, insurance window, finance window.
Right.
So customers had to go and walk around.
Right.
So I was thinking, why are they walking around, right? Because coming from Japan, usually the service is provided at customer, right?
One place.
Yeah. So you already start to see gaps, right? Maybe the experience can be better, right? And when you start to, that was one experience that I was just observing. After that, if you just look at the data, then you start to realize that we have a set of customers that we can retain. And some customers, which are more slightly affluent, they were not buying. They were not buying. Like we were selling a lot of Swift and Desire back then, like 2 lakhs each.
Yes.
Those customers, when they go to update, a lot of them were leaving.
Okay.
A lot. And so next thing I did is I went to actually meet these customers who were leaving, right? So then they'll start to say that no, experience is quite bad. One is product is not there. Second, the experience is not good. You're like, I wouldn't name the bank, but you're like a public bank that takes you from window to window.
Right.
Because we were a public company also back then,
Yeah.
right? So our operation was like that, and you needed to go window by window. And they were saying, not me, the customer was saying, you're like this bank.
I get it.
The experience is not good, right? Okay, and the brand, okay, I need to have a better brand because I've evolved. My ranking in the company is higher. So these are the 3 things that when you meet the customer that left us, we're saying.
Right.
Right? So if you want to actually make a new channel and also grow the business, you need to get the heart of these customers, right?
Right.
So if they're saying the brand, we need to work on a brand. So how do you make an aspiring brand for those customers? Experience. How do you make a better experience? Not only in the showroom, maybe they are searching on digital before. So we need to make it seamless from their digital search to the showroom. How do you make this journey better?
Right.
If they don't want to go window to window, how do you serve them at their place, right?
Yes.
Like this.
Right.
Products, obviously, we came out with tons of products. So we have a very good lineup. But this was what we were doing back then. Yeah. So it's again started with the customer, right? We needed to understand the customer. There was a target segment we had, those customers that were leaving us.
Yeah.
How do we serve them better?
You also mentioned about this, I would say, this inconvenience of lining up and manual registration and all of that. And I'm sure there was a digital solution later on. So when we talk about digital solutions in India, so right now we are not talking about products, but solutions that actually solve for things. For somebody who's in this space of crafting solutions and finding those pain points and kind of attacking them to get the best, how do you think, because Indian context will be different, so specifically in the Indian context and in India, how can one go about finding digital solutions and providing it to them, building them, taking it to them as well?
Do you mean how do you release or the product, digital product? Can you just...
So my question is that once you've identified the right kind of users, the right problem, the right solution also to some extent, how do you how do you go about either testing or validating that this is going to work? For example, the uh, it worked that the now the customers are adapting to a tablet and then feeding their personal details to them. But how do you answer those questions, like if it will work or not, or how do you ideate on that? Or there could have been a solution that you could have replaced the manual writing with somebody still feeding. That would also be digital.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
rather than something that is more personal and involved, So
usually before we go to develop, then test, in the very beginning, we should already be testing. Yeah. So this is, I think, the difference in how you create a very successful product. So I'll just give you a comparison. In IT, like basic IT, how it is working and used to work is you have a requirement. Say this, there's a queue at the showroom.
Right.
I need to do something. First, IT would not move on that, right? They'll say that, please give me the requirement.
Right.
Functional, non-functional. Please give me the requirement so I can put it into RFP, then send it out. Right? Send it out. RFP is a request for proposal, right? I need to send it out to multiple people.
Right.
Like SI, system integrators, right? So they'll look at it, and then 6 months or 1 year down the line, they'll come back with a solution. This is a solution.
Okay.
Right? Then once it comes back, you'll be maybe testing. Then it might be totally wrong, as we were just discussing, right? This is very difficult to use. And I actually didn't need this. I needed something else, might the customer say.
Yeah.
So in the digital world, this process of application development is not so useful.
Right.
Yeah, because if in the end, the customer should feel the benefit, right?
Right.
So again, you need to start with the customer. So the approach needs to be different. Like you might need to start with a design thinking, which is already kind of everybody's following. So before we even go to development, we might be discussing with customers, ideating with them. Also, we might be creating prototypes.
Right.
Right? That might not even be a software prototype.
Might not be working.
Yeah, it might be on a cardboard saying that if it was like this, how do you think? So we can get the feedback. On the design also, this design can be much better. Okay, understood. Iterate. Then we need to be iterative.
Right.
So it's not one feedback. We improve, go back. If you do this multiple times, even before development, the quality becomes much better. And understanding the customer becomes much more clear for us. We know what to develop. Right? So once you have that, then you have much more like high chance of making a successful or useful product. Right? So it's that even the testing is not at the very end.
Right.
We need to test at the beginning.
and keep on doing that.
Yes. Then making it iterative.
Right.
So this is, and we follow this process, which is Agile.
Right.
Agile against a waterfall.
Right.
So I think this is a very good way, productive way to do, or impactful.
Right.
And we only follow this. We were only following this from the beginning.
I get it now. Yeah. Now that you mentioned agile ways of design and whole testing and development, so generally, when you have the window to do that, it's obviously better, and the quality of output is definitely much better in all ways. But what if what if we don't have the resources, or what if there are there's a time crunch, and things are really tight for in terms of time, resources, even capital for that matter, and you still want to check if it's right or wrong? How does one go about doing that? I ask this because there are many entrepreneurs and people, ideators, innovators, who want to quickly test out before they launch, or sometimes it's not feasible to kind of go and do it, and even if it's iterative in nature. So how do we test something like that, or test an idea for that matter? It can be small or big.
Well, so if you want to test an idea, you need to make it a shape that people can understand.
Okay.
So either you make it a shape in terms of words, because you still have to explain that.
Right.
So it might not be too directly to your end customer. It can be your colleagues or somebody. But first, you need to explain it, right?
Right.
So put a shape to it.
Right.
That shape, the easier, the better. You need to make it easy because it might be very difficult for people to understand. If they can't understand, it's not working already.
Right.
Your idea.
Right.
Which means you need to test it. And this phase is very important because you need to take the time. The cost is not so much because you're the one doing. Like how I was doing is, you have an idea. It should be like this. You'd be drawing customer journey yourself, touch point wise experiences, right?
Right.
Like with a pencil and paper. This has almost zero cost,
Absolutely.
only time.
Right.
But it's about we need to spend the time here.
Right.
Because if you don't, you can have to do a lot of rework maybe.
Later.
And it will take much more time in the end.
Right.
So I think the most efficient way is spending time at the beginning.
Yes.
And not just planning. So you need to get the feedback. That's why you need to have a shape.
Okay.
That you can show to people.
Right.
If it's your customer, very good, because you get direct feedback. Even if you don't have direct access to the customer, you can take feedback from people around, right?
Right.
And we ourselves are customers also of product.
In many ways.
Yeah, so we can think like a customer and think if this actually makes sense also.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And now that we are at the subject of innovating and providing for the customers, you've had different experiences. Like you were so when you were at MSIL, you were making a brand out of a brand, and then other roles that you've been into. So, and now you are in Suzuki Digital, and it's almost like starting to innovate and be out there, and in the pure sense of the word, it's starting up. So if you would like to share something again with the leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, a few takeaways that these are fundamentals of, you can call it brand building or building a business
Okay.
product, maybe.
So maybe we'll talk about two things. Building a business and building a brand.
Right.
So if you take Suzuki Digital as a case, it's actually that never give up attitude, because it also started with an idea. So I was already doing a lot of digital in Maruti Suzuki across the company. So there's a organization, digital organization, and a lot of digital. So I was thinking, okay, I'm doing a lot of value creation for India. Why can't this go global, right? Right? So if we build ourselves, it will be very easy to take it global. So I had this idea. Then I needed to go pitch, right? So I needed to put a shape to it. Then take feedback. Then go and pitch, because this is a Suzuki company. So you'd have to go to Suzuki board and pitch. So by the way, I had to go so many times. Right?
Back and forth.
Yeah, back and forth. It's like, no, no, no. So when you get a no, it's like, okay, I just need to brush up again and go.
Right.
So it's the attitude that you need to have. I think the mindset, the spirit. You need to keep on going, right?
You don't have to give up, and you have to
Yes.
push, keep pushing.
And if there's a lot of startups listening, they would know, because every day is a challenge when you're starting something new, right? People are not coming, people have left. This is a problem that. Yeah, same thing. Every day some challenge comes. So you just need to understand it, then overgo it, right? So this is about making a business, because everybody is in a different business. The strategy would be different, but I think the approach should be same. Approach, there will be challenges.
Core.
Yeah. And you will get so much no's from everywhere, from internal and the customer. And it's good because it's always a learning opportunity, right? Why are they saying no? Even the customer to the product, why are they saying no? So we are building automotive cloud. Our customers around the world be saying this, why?
Right.
So then you understand that something is not working. You need to improve, right? So that's on the business side. On the branding side, branding requires a lot of strategy. So I think branding is not art. It's actually very scientific, and there's an approach and a process to it. So because it's a brand is in the people's mind and the perception, you need to actually keep it consistent or they will not understand, right? So one day if you're blue and red and green, they'll be thinking, what are you, right? So consistent means if you're blue, you need to be blue
All
throughout,
throughout.
right? But a lot of brands, they keep on switching, which means there's always a brand position in the market. That position needs to be consistent.
Right.
So when we are asked, where is your brand from a strategy point, that position should be very clear. Position, the unique sales point, USPs. Why would the customer choose your brand, right? All this should be clear so the position is very clear. Then to make sure that that USP is communicated, you need to actually communicate, right? Communicate, PR, all that. But this should be all consistent with the position. What the brand stands for.
Cannot keep changing.
It can't keep changing, and it should not change because people change, right? Management changes 3 years, 5 years in a every time.
Yeah.
If the brand keeps on changing, people will get very confused. So this needs to be people agnostic. Obviously, it needs to be reviewed, but brand has to be consistent.
That core or that. So is it close to what? So is it that what the business stands for? It should coincide with what the brand stands for, or they're two different things.
I think it's in sync.
In
It
the-
needs
in
to be because there's a reason why that company is in business. Right? They have a vision.
Right. Right.
Vision might be to provide, like, if it's Suzuki's case, mobility at very low cost for everyone, right?
Right.
Mass transport. Everybody should get a very comfortable and easy mobility. So we have a vision like that.
Yes.
From the vision, we create the product.
Okay.
So that's why our products in India are also like that. Marti 800, right? We believe in
that access.
yeah, providing access to everyone, not
Right.
a certain segment, everyone, because the vision is such.
Right.
And that product, Marti 800, is a brand, right? In line with the vision. So this vision in the product should be in sync.
Sync. Yeah.
Then because we have a product like that, then this position, also the brand, like the mother brand Marti Suzuki, should be consistent. Right? Because one day if we come out with like a 10x price car, people will be disconnected, right?
Right.
You have a Marti 800, you have like 1 crore
Right.
worth of car. People would not associate, right?
Right.
So that requires maybe a different brand then. And by the way, that's why we had a Nexa, right?
Yeah.
You need to differentiate
That.
and keep it consistent.
Right.
But to answer your question, the vision of the company, the business, and obviously the product, services, everything should be consistent.
Right. We might have the right product, the right solution. We've identified, tested also to an extent. But what happens, and especially in the case of tech, and when we're giving a tech solution now, what happens when a product or a solution is way ahead of its time? Maybe it's at a wrong time, or a time it's way too advanced, or it's not the best time to provide that solution, and you only get to know later on. So how do we go about that?
So I think back to the same discussion, you need to actually check in advance because that idea might be very good. The technology might be cutting edge,
Right.
but if you're not able to create traction in the market, you're not going to be able to grow the business, right? So before you actually go and develop, I think you need to check prototype.
Again, the same
Same thing.
same drill.
Because when you do that, you'll get the feedback,
Right.
right? And it might be in a very niche segment that it might work, but then you'll know that it's very niche also.
Yeah, that's also a learning.
Yeah, it's a learning because the mass might not come to it.
Mhm.
There's a niche that you can target, but is that big enough, right?
Hmm. And while when you're building, it's often, I would say, natural to get attached to what you're building. And we can also confuse it for passion. Like there's a very thin line. So, and when it doesn't work in some case, how do you kind of deal with that? How do you detach yourself or look at it like a learning, as you said, and not take it on to your ego? Because naturally with the word building, there's a lot of power and there's a lot of like strength that comes with this word. Like building is such a passionate word, but when does it become too much?
So I think you get attached to the product that you're building for sure. But if you have the objective very clear, then I think it's quite easy to manage.
Right.
Because if the end objective is to just build that product, very difficult, right? Because you're so much attached.
Yeah.
But if the end objective is to create an impact or better the society or better the people's lives through better mobility, right? Safer car, it's for the people.
Right.
Then the objective is to get the product right because you need to create the impact for the society or the people. Right? Then you'll be willing to pivot. So I think the objective is very important. Where is your objective? Is it in creating the product or creating the impact? This is, I think, very important. If your mind is towards the customer and you want to make it better, then you start to think, how do I make it better? If it's not working, I need to change, pivot. I'll do whatever to serve the customer in a better way. Right? So I think this mindset is quite important. Are you thinking about the customer? Are you only thinking about yourself and the product?
Right. And when we talk about impact and scalability and growth, so how do you think people can grow globally? Because, like you said, Suzuki Digital is a global, I would say, a global, solution, or it has a global vision, like to reach different countries. How do you think one expands or a company expands?
So I think you need to have the design. Well, first you need to have the vision that you want to go global, right?
Right.
With that vision or kind of goal, then you need to design with a global point of view.
Okay.
Because if can your product actually scale globally, and there's a lot of things that you need to take care to go global, right? One simple thing is like language.
Yeah.
Every country has a different language. We might be building the app software, the cloud in English, but what do I do in Germany or there and there, right?
Right.
A very simple one. Still, you need to take care of this when we're building. Infrastructure, you need to have in different countries also, maybe because another one is regulation is different. Like privacy regulation, it's very strict in Europe. You need to have the data in Europe,
Right. Right.
right? The infra cannot be in India and accessed. So what do we do? But nowadays there's hyperscalers, right? So cloud providers. So it's quite easy to bring the infra.
Right.
So we can launch one day in like Frankfurt, Germany. Another day we'll be launching in United States, Ohio, like this, Singapore.
Right.
So nowadays with these hyperscalers, it's quite easier on the infra side to go global.
Right.
But the application we're putting on top, actually, still we need to take care of all this. And if you haven't got the vision from the day one, you might be stuck with a design that doesn't scale.
Because there'll be a new problem, and this
Yes. Yes.
this could have been avoided.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if it's a very tightly coupled kind of design, what if the customer in different region wants something different, right?
Right.
You might need to decouple the service.
Absolutely.
Is your product flexible enough to cater to the different needs of the customers in different region, country? These kind of things we need to think.
And this is on a more personal note because you mentioned language. So the moment you said language, I went back to 2014 when you came to India and came from Japan. And so predominantly a lot of people that you would be working with would speak Hindi, though English is acceptable and also it works in many places. How was that experience like? Because uh, it would be interesting to know how did you navigate, just in case,
Oh,
you know.
oh, by the way, most of the people in corporates speak English, so that is not
Yeah.
a problem. But say that you need to build a showroom
Right.
outlet like a Nexa,
Exactly.
or the second project was a pre-owned car. Pre-owned car. We
Yes.
have a channel called actually Maruti Suzuki has a channel called
Pre-owned.
True Value.
True value. Yes.
So that I was creating that also. Third project, I was creating commercial channel.
Right.
Commercial channel. All of these channels have different customers, right? So if you go to a commercial channel, nobody speaks English. And we are building these commercial channels in Nakas or somewhere,
Yes.
right? So you'd have to kind of understand the nuance, even if you don't speak Hindi, because they'll be saying something and you'll be there again observing, and you need to understand. And building a commercial channel is completely different.
Right.
Because it's like this. I'll give one example. I was thinking we need to have an air conditioning. This store was in Haryana. The first one, the concept.
Yes.
Very hot, right?
Right.
Usually you need to have a air conditioning to make it convenient. But what we understood is if you put an air conditioning, customers think that that cost is on the car also.
Right. It will be an
Yeah,
expensive
so
car.
it's too much luxury for our audience in commercial, and they don't want a air conditioning. Interesting. From a next side, it's totally different.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and they might not be saying this also. We need to understand from their body language how they're reacting. And one more difference is like in a commercial channel, because this is used for business, they need to have the car delivered immediately. This is different from a passenger.
Right.
So you need to show that it can be immediately delivered, which means car stocks inventory have to be in front of the showroom, showing that we can deliver you today.
Right.
Completely different.
Absolutely. Then that luxury, aspirational luxury.
This is nothing to do about the luxury anymore because we need to.
We need to show that.
Yeah, this is a livelihood for them. So we need to make their business much more successful.
Absolutely.
In a commercial channel. Using our car, how do you make them more profitable?
Right.
Right.
Yes. Both the experiences
Totally
were.
different.
Yeah. Totally.
But again, if you understand the customer, then you can design it in a different way.
Absolutely.
So I had to unlearn everything I done in Nexa. It's totally different customer.
Absolutely.
And we need to design the product, services, experience for that customer. Expectation is totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
And so as we move forward with Suzuki Digital and otherwise also, like, what do you think about the future? Like, how hopeful are you about the future, especially based on digital transformation, the intervention, the power that it has? So, what do you think the future looks like?
So I think obviously there's a technology like digital is very important, and the people who get this right will probably thrive. But before that, again, we need to understand the customer very well, obviously, right? Because the technology is for the customer.
Absolutely.
So the company who understands the customer and has the right technology will, I think, thrive.
Absolutely.
And to do this in a successful way, it's actually you need to get the right talent. You see, right? How do you get the right talent? You need to have a specific org design, we call it, organization design. And this organization design to run this in a successful way, what I believe is it needs to be very lean. So lean digital, right? In a normal organization, and actually Suzuki is like this also, we are a very hierarchical design organization, right? Many layers. And why this doesn't work is because if you have many layers, you'll be always looking at your boss.
Yeah.
Your boss will be looking at his boss or her boss, then boss to boss to boss. So how many times do we have to go up and down, right? And this, we forget about the customer. We forget about the customer, what they want. We only look at our boss, and this is what hierarchy creates. So if you really need to focus on the customer, which we've said like 100 times today, you need to make it very lean so that you don't have to manage your boss. You need to think about the customer, right? And then you need to make it iterative, right? As we discussed. Test with customer, talk to customer.
Yes.
Go back to customer.
Test it. Yes.
So if you always have to go to your boss to go to the customer, very difficult, right? So you need to have everybody empowered so that they can come out with an idea, test it.
Right.
Test it. If it doesn't work, okay, no problem. Let's come out with a new idea. So this kind of environment can we create? Right. Because then it's not one person trying to innovate. It'll be like hundreds and thousands of people trying to innovate, coming out with ideas, empowered to try it. Absolutely. Yes. So I think this org design, getting it right, is very important. But because we have a conventional structure, it's very difficult to come out. That's another reason why we started Suzuki Digital. Because if you start from zero, greenfield, you can design the org design in a different way. Absolutely. Right.
You have a blank canvas to paint.
Yes.
In a way. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely very, very clear as to like how we need to evolve and come out of our own mindset and how we function. And but just to like get more perspective for all the listeners and people who want to know more. We also know that you like reading, and if it's okay with you, if you can share some books or some authors that will help them get closer to this mindset and get over their own self that holds them back to achieve this vision, this broader vision that takes them global.
So I'd rather give some reference because not specifically mentioning some books.
Of course.
But one good reference is if you go to like FT Financial Times, they have Book of the Year.
Okay.
So it's public on the website. And since they are actually evaluating all the business books, obviously, throughout the year, you'll get very good quality. So you get like a top 30, top 10, I think, then the winner. Right. So I think you should look at that list and see what is interesting. Yeah, so that's one way. Another way is whoever you're working with can suggest also what kind of books will help. Like if you need to do a startup, there's a good book like Lean Startup, right? So, but I think you need to have a place where you can go to continuously get some good reference. And that is one good reference, this FT Book of the Year.
Okay. By Financial Times. Yeah. FT.
You just have to Google. Yeah. It'll come up.
Absolutely. So, thank you, Akuda-san. It was very, very enriching to talk to you. And again, we reaffirmed the fact how important customer is. And this whole thing that we're doing is about the customer.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of our viewers and listeners will get a lot of value from this. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.
And your thoughts.
It was very nice being here. Thank you.